You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, the other day I talked about what Albert Breer had said in his MMQB podcast about the trade value of one Maxx Crosby after the now defunct, backed out, ambushed, abolished, aborted trade by the Ravens on one Maxx Crosby. And one of the things that came up was trade value. He said essentially Maxx Crosby has 80 cents on the dollar in the trade value that he's got right now. Well, after this ESPN report that came out, is he going to have 50 cents on the dollar in trade value? And I'm sure this was leaked directly by way of the Ravens. But ESPN did a deep dive on this failed trade. And I got to tell you, this led to, I mean, when you read this story, and it's long, and we'll go to a condensed version of it. But at the end of the day, this was the headline that came out of it. Report. And this was the report right here. Ravens were concerned about a degenerative issue in Maxx Crosby's knee. Wow. Now, if you're a Raiders fan, you may be thinking to yourself, well, we decided to keep him anyway. I think in large part that's true, depending on how the Raiders start the season. All right. It's a rebuilding team. Now, if something happens and either a interim veteran quarterback leads the Raiders out to a quick start, you may be like, well, hey, we've got a pass rusher, a really good one, blah, blah, blah. But like I brought up in my video the other day, if you start out 0-7, around the trade deadline is when you would be looking to move him. But how much are you going to get for him because of this report and what's coming out? It's only been 2 weeks since the backpedal heard round the football world. A new article from Ryan McFadden of ESPN takes a detailed look at the failed Maxx Crosby trade from the Raiders to the Ravens. And the reason I'm using PFT's article on this is because this ESPN article is just too damn long. We'd be here all day. Here's the key quote from McFadden's report on Baltimore's decision not to proceed. Quote, the consensus was Maxx Crosby would be able to play in 2026. The Ravens' concerns centered around the uncertainty of Crosby's durability after a couple of seasons in Baltimore because of a degenerative issue in his knee, a source told ESPN. Yikes. Crosby had surgery to repair a torn meniscus in January. He was and still is recovering from the procedure. The reasoning makes sense. The Ravens were going to send a pair of first-round picks to the Raiders. The Ravens had never and still haven't traded a first-round pick for a player. They presumably wanted Crosby to be something more than a short-term answer, especially if they were going to give Crosby a sweetener over 4 years and $116 million remaining on his current deal, which works out to a well below market average of $29 million per year. In the end, the Ravens had to make a projection about his condition on his knee for 2026 and beyond, and they did. Did the availability of Trey Hendrickson beyond the first wave of free agency play a role in the ultimate assessment? If he hadn't overpriced himself, he would have been long gone by the time the Raiders conducted Crosby's physical. By Tuesday, Hendrickson was available at $28 million per year with no draft compensation. And we've done a couple of videos lately too. There's been some talk around the league. A couple of things emerged out of this. GMs, NFL executives giving a fuzzy eyeball to the Ravens for the foreseeable future about doing business with them. It's like, can you trust the Ravens right now? And the other side of this was some of those same executives and GMs going, did the Ravens take advantage of Tom Brady and John Spytek due to inexperience? The question is, why the bleep wasn't there a physical done before the trade was agreed upon? That's one of the big takeaways in all this. But it's pretty clear. I mean, if you're a Raiders fan and you were hoping to still trade Maxx Crosby, and by the way, I saw 3 different proposals the Raiders turned down from the Cowboys. I was like, what? Okay. They turned down a pretty good little defensive player that was added to that deal. There was a 20th pick in the first round offered, a third round, and a player. And then it changed to, I believe it was the 12th pick and a third round and the player. And then there was the first and second pick, no player involved. So it was 3 pretty good deals from the Cowboys that the Raiders ended up turning down. I saw that and I was like, are we sure we wouldn't have taken the 20th, the third, and a solid defensive player back in the trade? I was kind of surprised. Same defensive player that ended up going to the San Francisco 49ers. So as a Niners fan, appreciate you, Cowboys. But you get my point. So, wow. I mean, and of course, the Raiders, the Ravens, Baltimore Ravens leaked this because they don't want business to be shut down on them, right? They don't want general managers to, hear a trade offer, especially heading into the draft, which is a month away now, heading in the draft and them going, well, I don't know if we want to do a deal with you because are you going to bleep us in this? Are you going to mother bleep us? You going to F us in the end of this because you get cold feet and try to pull out? And I think most people believe ultimately this was, and they were well within their legal rights to back out of the trade. But you got a bunch of football guys all standing around going, yeah, but you also did a handshake agreement on this and you didn't honor it. So the Ravens, in my opinion anyway, with this report, which from sources, the Ravens you'd have to be an idiot to not think it wasn't the Ravens organization that leaked this. He has a degenerative knee issue. They're trying to save face now because their reputation effing blows. It looks real bad right now because, it looks like you backed out of the trade just so you wouldn't have to give up draft compensation, and you found Trey Hendrickson sitting on the market at less money than you thought you had to pay to get him. Tell me what you think in the comments section. Degenerative knee. That's going to scare a lot of teams. It is. Unless there can be a restructured deal or something like that, I don't know if you're a contending team. I know the Niners were looking real hard at Maxx Crosby. I've got to think they're out. I don't know. Tell me what you think. Hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're still subscribed. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.